Hey everybody, how are we doing? Do you mind going over the writer for visualization 6? You bet. We can do that here in a little bit. Sarah, great job working ahead. And one of the biggest things I want to point out is let's start here. Let's start. How's everyone doing? Let's just get how's everyone doing? I see Sarah in the chat, Kayla, Ella, who else? Liam's in the chat, Mary's in the chat. Everyone's checking their points right now. Leslie says hello. Hey Leslie, and make sure when you join class live, we'll make people mods. Say, hey Brian, I want to be a mod. Can you show me how to do the math for the last two questions on the quiz? I watched the group recording. I wasn't sure, but I got them wrong. Oh no, Wyndham, we can do that. You bet. We start off each Monday. We'll do questions right after this. We always do like the plan for the week. So let me bring up this stuff. We're going to talk asynchronous 201 first, and then we're going to go over to 201, and then we're going to talk about 320. And so after that, we take all the questions. So let's go over here to the main screen. And thank you, everyone, for showing up. We got a bunch of people watching. Hey, what's up, Cameron and Kayla and Blaze? Is it right, Blaze? Am I saying it correctly? Please tell me if I ever say your name wrong. I will try my best. And Maya and Lizzie and Kajal. So good to see everyone. And Katie. So many people here. I love it. But thank you, Blaze, right there. Let's hop over to the main screen. Let's do this. Elizabeth, what's up? It's fun. Hello. So Emily, hey, good to see you. So what we have first right here is the asynchronous. Now, a big thing happened. KP, yeah. There you go. Just be like, KP. I'll be like, yes. A big thing for asynchronous is anyone here in the asynchronous class? So a big thing is completing the modules, but due to an error Brian made, there we go, Leslie. So I gave you all the points for one of the modules that is due tonight because there was an error with the module. Good to see you, Bailey. So I sent out the points. I sent out an announcement last night saying, hey, there's an error, and this error has caused me to give out the points. Is this clear to everybody? What I feared was maybe someone had done part of the module and then they're like, oh, I was trying to complete it before work. You're welcome. And please tell me if there's errors in them. I'm literally making all this material. And so most weekends, I was writing the 320 assignment this weekend, but if there's an error and I think it's too big and I don't get it out soon enough to make corrections, I just decided it was fair to give everyone points. I mean, worst comes to worst, someone doesn't fully understand. Like, I want people to still do the chapter. I don't believe it was your Evil Mewbot. I totally agree, Jonathan. Let's throw some points for Jonathan. I like that, Jonathan. I agree with Jonathan. I think Evil Mewbot was editing my stuff right there. So Mewbot, give some people some points for that right there. Mewbot? Mewbot, you gonna give the points? You can still turn, still turn the flashcards. Just treat it like a normal chapter. Apparently I forgot how to do the points. We'll figure that out here in a moment. I'll see if I did the command correctly, but we'll keep going. So, because Mewbot's supposed to be giving out points. Let's get Mewbot's stock thing going. Let me go turn on stonks. So there we go. You can now buy stonks if you want. He's working, but he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. Let me try that points command again. Maybe it just missed it. You guys can see me in the chat. Is this for this is just the asynchronous. The asynchronous has these modules. So just make sure asynchronous, your modules are due on Monday nights. And I've tried to make it so the modules are always due on Mondays. Hopefully that doesn't make things confusing. Like if you have a quiz at a different time or a homework at a different time, but the asynchronous always has the modules due on Monday, just for consistency's sake that you always, oh, I know what it is. I don't know how to spell viewers. Now you get some 20 points right here. Watch this. Mewbot, thank you very much. That's the command right there. So we figured it out. Yeah, we could do that afterwards. Camera, we're gonna take a list of things to do, and we're gonna do whatever people want after this. You bet. So there's also wait. So if you want a list of things to know for each chapter, what is a great way to have a list of things to know for each chapter? Let me give a real big bit of advice for 201 right here, and I would start using these. If you want a list of things to know for each chapter, this is for everybody. So if you want a list of things you need to know for each chapter, what should you use? Does anyone have any advice? People might be saying it right now. What is the list of things you should know? I'm basically giving away the answer right here. I have these chapter speed runs right here, which I think have not been utilized nearly enough, but they go over what you need to know for each chapter. I've made the text so big now. Speed runs, yep. So when you look at this right here, I had too much fun making these. Epic stat to 1 speedrun.
Statistics.
Brian. So yeah, I would use these. They're really quick. You can see what's being covered here in the corner, so you can read like this is what's being covered, and you can see like a short summary. Yeah, you're welcome, Miranda. So you can see, you know, like 5-number summary, the median by hand, da 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 da. This is a big cover, and so you can just fast forward in the video. I guess I could timestamp these in the video also, but I think it's pretty easy enough to see what I'm covering at that time. Yep, there's a playlist. Let me drop the playlist in the chat. Let me do epic speedruns. There's non-epic speedruns in here too. But this is a really big thing, and this is why we kind of, this start of this Monday is always like, where are we at? What should we be doing? So check these out, share them with people, put them in GroupMe, put them in Discord, make sure people know about these. I mean, if you want to review a whole chapter in 15 minutes, that's why I made these. They're like a Cliff Notes version, so I really do mean the disclaimer at the start. Speedruns are like Cliff Notes. They will not completely cover all topics. So exactly, thank you so much, Bailey. So this, and I hope to make one for each chapter. These are in the asynchronous class, and I purposely made it so you kind of have to watch these videos because it's like a big review. You do everything, then you get a big review. And so we should have all the final asynchronous material posted for test 1 very shortly, probably mid this week, I hope. I'm still just finalizing stuff, making sure everything's all right. So what would I be doing if I'm in 201 right now? Okay, so asynchronous. Asynchronous. Do I know how to spell it this week? Asynchronous. Nope, still don't know how to spell that word. Asynchronous. We'll learn eventually. Asynchronous 201. Complete modules by Monday night. Now, a big thing, don't always wait till Monday night to complete the modules. Remember, we had like make a plan. That way you're not like every Monday night at like 11 p.m. being like, oh, I got to log in and do the modules. Try to set a schedule that like on Wednesday you do it or Saturday you do it. That way you can kind of relax and take some notes. And it's not like you're just going through material quickly. That's the best way to make sure you memorize the material. But still, completing it's what's most important. So if you are completing it Monday night at 11, hey, you still did it. I like that. So stat 201 regular, or all stat 201. Okay, so with all stat 201 right here, we're just coming up with the plan for this week. All stat 201, I would say first thing is check out speedruns to review topics. The more you hear something, the better. So you need to hear these things multiple times. So I would check out the speedruns. Let's say attend class and ask questions. We're just putting on here general advice. But let me just, a big thing I've noticed, I watch the YouTube numbers, and people after about 3-4 weeks of class just kind of like, we start with like 85% attendance, then we go to 80, 75, 70, it just drops like 5% slowly. And by the end of the semester, I have like 60% of students watching live. Don't let that be you. Keep watching class, keep asking questions, and then you'll stay on track with everything. So just whenever you're stuck, ask a question. We also have tutoring resources. Who here has a resource they've been using to get help in 201? Let's put that here. Ask for help if you need it. And I want the Discord to always grow, but SI, there we go. Boom. SI is huge. SI, 2 people have said SI just like that. Unsolicited SI right there. It's Alyssa, right? I was going to say Allison, but I think it's Alyssa. She is top tier. We are lucky to have her. And if next semester we don't have her as our SI leader, we're at a disadvantage because she's really like, when you talk about a great SI leader, and I'm definitely going to tell SI, like, can you please have Alyssa train someone? Can you have her like be like, hey, so this is what I've done. Here's my resources. Here's what I have. And yeah, if we could, and hey, if you do amazing in 201 and you want to do SI and you kind of, maybe you get to know Alyssa a little bit through going to SI and she can kind of instruct you, we'd love to have you on as our next SI leader because, so I think SI is awesome. And, you know, I'm just proud that we have her. So thank you, Alyssa. Big shout outs to Alyssa right there. So get help if you need it. Ask for help. SI, office hours, videos, GroupMe, all these things right here. Okay, now a huge thing is the MyPearson assignments. Let's look over see what we have. So please, has anyone noticed and maybe people are noticing this, I'm preaching to the choir. How many attempts do you get at the homeworks? How many attempts do you get at the homeworks? You see, I guess got to remember, not everyone needs to get hundreds. Like a 95 is okay. So the homework you get infinite attempts on. The quizzes you get 5. You can, on the homework, if a question is multiple choice on the homework, you can get 100 on it because all you have to do is just hit like retry. And I'm not saying you should just guess, but the homework you get unlimited attempts on. Now the quizzes, these do get more difficult towards the end of the semester. A lot of times towards the end of the semester, people are like, I can't even make above a 60 on this quiz. But how can you ace the quizzes? So how can you, I'm going to give the answer away right here. So during office hours, I work through the quizzes, especially closer to when they're due. If people maybe like, I'm not in the group meet, I should join the group meetings. I think some people sent me some invites to them. But if someone's like, hey, this video is the one, what's up, Colin? Good to see you here. Thank you so much for the good week right there. If people mention like in the group meeting, hey, like this is the video where Brian works chapter quiz, quiz 3. This is the video where Brian does this. The videos are marked, but I could see how like every office hours video, you'd be like, well, which one is the one where Brian does this? But if people want to help show people where it's at, and I'm always happy to show people too. If you email me and say, hey, Brian, what video did you do? I'll find the video and send you a link. I'll be like, here it is. Okay, quick reminder. People are going to think I'm crazy. Stat 201, your initials, title here. I think everyone knows that. Let's put email Brian with questions. But we're almost done with 201 advice right here. And so email Brian with questions. Of course, put your initials. Like if you're John Adams, it would be that right there. For the last 2 math questions on Canvas Content Quiz, the answer wanted decimal. Like, yeah, and tell me if it counts it wrong for some reason. Like some of them say use this decimal format versus this decimal window. Tell me if it counts you wrong, and I've been correcting people's. If you get it right, but it's the decimal format, I just go in and correct it. So tell me, Wyndham, if it counts off via decimal format for you. And I think the last thing we have here for 201, so we're going to finish up some 201 advice right here. Let's hop over here to regular old 201, asynchronous. And thank you, Wyndham, and everyone for showing up. We're going to take all the questions, do all the work right here. Here we are. We got MyPearson this week. Multiple MyPearson. Okay, be careful. Should you wait until Tuesday and Thursday night to start the MyPearson right here? Ooh, we need to put Canvas Content Quiz on this. Let's put a big red thing right here. Canvas Content. Let's put this in red. Do not wait to do that to the last moment. You get 2 attempts. Use both attempts. So, and check out if you get anything wrong. Email me if you have questions. And two quizzes and 2 homeworks. For the visualization number 4, is it okay if we have one value of data missing? Is this the pivot? Make sure to select and remove the blank if it's blank Elish. If it has a blank, make sure to remove the blank. You can send me an email if you want, and I'll double check. But if you want to say like, hey, Brian, does this look all right? You can send it to me in an email, and I will check that and make sure it's all right. And then here's the last thing, pivot. So visualization 4, pivot chart. And if you're looking for help on the visualizations, I have a visualization playlist. So I removed the visualization playlist. Here's the visualization assignments. And I just made them all kind of general name videos. And so here is the visualization playlist. And we will go over them during office hours and kind of talk about them. Make sure to follow your own instructions if it has instructions. But what questions are there? I think this does it for the advice for 201 this week. So here is the 201 advice on everything I would be doing. Any other 201 advice questions? And we're going to do 320 advice, and we're going to take all the questions. I know there's a lot of great questions right now. I always start these videos with the weekly advice, and then it's a bummer because like I never do structured office hours, and then this is just like each week I'm always just like, I think it'll help people. Have people been using this weekly advice to hopefully understand what's going on with the week? Has it been helping people? Yeah, and I'll mention that right now. That's good. Liam, you're welcome. So the exams are via Respondus. And so for 201, great question. I will do some 201 more advice right now, and then we'll jump to 320. Because as long as this is helping people, like if everyone's like, nah, I don't use weekly advice, Brian, then I'd be like, okay, let's change the format. I need your feedback. Preaching to the choir though, if you're watching this right now though. The exams are on Respondus and for 201 and for 220 also. And what is the best way to ace the exams and know how the exams will look? What is the best way to know how the exams will look and ace the exams? So I want you to grab some juice right here. What is the best way to ace the exams and know how they'll look? You're like, I want to know what the exams will look like. I want to do well in the exams. I want to ace the exams. What is the best way to know what the exams will look like and ace them? Boom, Liam, right there. You're totally right. And Zoya's right too. The Kahoots and the Canvas content. Review sessions are great, things like that. Canvas content quizzes are literally, if you look at how they're structured, they actually take from the exam bank questions. So you might literally see on your test questions from the Canvas content quizzes. And then the Kahoots are structured like the Canvas content quizzes. Like a lot of the questions on the Kahoots are Canvas content quizzes, either reformatted or I've looked through additional exam bank questions, and the Kahoots are really good. The people I had acing the Kahoots or winning the Kahoots last semester were acing the exams. Not everyone like made an A, but I would notice that the people doing super well on the Kahoots were also, but I mean, maybe they were just doing well in other areas. Are we able to review the Canvas content quiz? I'm 99% certain. And if you can't, tell me and I'll make sure that option's enabled. Can you do that? So side. If it's not enabled, tell me and I will fix it. Like send me an email and say, hey, Brian, can you enable the feature that lets us review it? But I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah, there we go, Jonathan. Thank you so much. It's just I see it from the instructor side. So I'm like, I think so. I just don't do the student side. There's a student view that I can check things with. I don't think you can after the due date. I'll set it so Bailey, send me an email. Let's throw some extra credit points for Bailey right here, pointing this out. Thank you, Bailey. Send me an email and say, hey, Brian, can you enable the feature that lets us see it after the due date? And I'm throwing 20 points right there. Thank you, Bailey, for that suggestion. Send me an email and I will enable it. That way you can see it after the due date. I just want to make sure, like, anything you guys ask that, you know, if it's something I think will help. If you're like, hey, Brian, can you give us all hundreds? I'd be like, maybe I'll give it. Almost done with grading your visualized semester. So thank you, graders. It's a lot of grading, as you can tell that they're doing. Lots and lots of grading. And they're keeping up with it pretty decently. I like a 1 week turnaround. And we didn't meet the goal on this. And I said, you know, hey, let's make sure. But I have multiple graders across sections who are kind of divvying up the work. And so I just said, hey, let's get the communication going here so we can know, you know, who needs to do what. And they're really great. So thank you, TAs. Keep it up. Nice points there, KP. Got to remember, I'm going to keep using it so that way I know and I'll remember. And with this, there's a big thing right here for 320. So 320, biggest things I would say is one, attend class live for activity points. This is huge right here. Like if you miss my question about the last two content quiz questions, they can be randomized. Wyndham, if you want to email me them because yours will be randomized and I wouldn't pulp your work right here. Email me, send me a screenshot, snipping tool or Command Shift 4, send me a screenshot of your work. And then I can explain if anything was missed or I can give points back if needed. So Wyndham, send me a screenshot because your Canvas content quiz will be randomized. So your last two questions, I don't mind if you pull up my work, but otherwise, okay, shoot me the email. Well, I'd also be worried too, like if someone was like, "Hey, Brian was like showing the students," I don't know, like it's what is it? We have FERPA. So yes, send me a quick email after this, and I'll check that out. So, or if you mention like a specific one, if you're like, "Hey, the dark chocolate one," because that's been the one that's been catching people off guard. Hint for the dark chocolate one, it's a conditional distribution when it's asking, you know, what percent of people dislike of the dark chocolate. That's given someone chose dark chocolate, what's the probability they dislike it? So like zeros. So the biggest thing with the 320 right there is I'm noticing that some people aren't watching class live and you have to watch class live to get the attendance points. And some people are starting to get zeros in that group. And that's just going to really start taking a toll on their grade. Like the zeros in that group is really going to start impacting their grade. Another thing right here, start assignment early. Ask questions to your instructor about the assignment. So really kind of some simple advice right here. attend class live and be able to do that question next. You got it. So attend class live. Oh, nice job, Cameron. We're throwing Cameron everyone 20 points. Cameron, balls help balls. So, the biggest thing is with this new assignment. I'm just going to show it briefly right here. I love it when people are in the chat and helping each other out. So this is what 320 is doing this week. So 320 is working on this assignment right here. It probably looks like craziness. I could see how someone would open this up and be like, oh my gosh, like all sorts of scared right here. And I think I put everything proper. But I expect this to take about 3 to 5 hours of work. There's not a ton of coding needed, but as soon as you get stuck on something, I want you to email me. We're going to be going over every topic in here. Also, I made a rubric for this, which is the first time I've made a rubric for an assignment. And if 320 is here, and I'll check this during class, if they can see the rubric. And I'm going to try to make it so we do visualizations with rubrics. Cameron just throwing some amazing advice out there. Thank you, Cameron. Cameron's just dropping all the good advice to help students out. So yes, so 320, please start this early. Do not be afraid if you're like, Brian, I'm confused on this. Brian, what do you mean by this? We'll be going over all of these topics this week. So everything you see in the assignment this week, we will be covering. So kind of, I would say work on the assignment during the week. So let me put that last little bit. So work on assignment as we cover the topics in class. So that's the best way to ace this assignment, is to just work on it as we cover the topics. I put a lot of exclamation points, don't I? So with that, I think there was a bunch of questions. This is my advice for 320 for this week. The biggest thing, you want to get your activity points. Let's highlight activity points right here. That's what you need to focus on right here. And then you need to work on the assignment, and do not wait till the assignment is like the night it's due. Just be working on it during the week. When we cover something like the associate function, work on that. And yeah, so focus on these, come to class, ask the questions, and have the assignment up and be looking at it. What questions are there? Maggie and everybody, Miranda, so good to see everybody. What questions do people have? It is your time. Good to see you here, D-Scaff. Can you go over what will be on the Canvas content quiz for Stats 101? Yeah. Let's do that. Is this Canvas content quiz 2? Canvas content quiz 2. I think a big one, which I pointed out in my email. So maybe if you're not in my class, this will help other people. Remember to use, Mubot, you're so chatty. So scatter plots, bivariate displays of quantitative data, time plots, which are not a word apparently, special scatter plots where the x-axis is time. So this is a question that I mentioned it during the Kahoot, and I think I mentioned it in one section. Leslie, email me if you use both your attempts, Leslie, and you missed that. Just email me and I'll fix that. I don't think that's fair. So Leslie, if you started early, I don't want you to penalize. I don't want to penalize you for starting early. Just with these things, ask. You can always ask. Say, hey Brian, I did the campus content quizzes early, and you kind of give this hint, and I think it would have really helped me get it. Can I get my points back? And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So Leslie, email me if you lost the points on that one. I'll give you the points back. So yep. So you're welcome, Leslie. It's all about just asking. I definitely had students ask things, and I've said no. I'm like, unfortunately, no. It's all about just asking. It's all about just asking. And I can say yes or no. So here is what a scatter plot looks like. And if it has time down here, it's on the x-axis. We got space pen back. I've got a really good graphic. Let me show you something. Give me 2 seconds right here. We're going to hop to space, and then I'm going to give you a really good set of notes right here. So give me a moment. Oh, I think I've got it here. I'm so blind. Pivot board. What is pivot board? That's fine. Jason, we just need to film for another button. I need to wake up. Oh, that's how to do a pivot. Oh, I should have displayed that last class. Well, darn it. I forgot I made this last semester. These are the steps for doing the pivot, to making a pivot chart, pivot thingy-ma-do. So this is how to do a pivot. I might display it again when we review today. I just forget I have this. Here it is. I found it. Here we go. Okay. So, and you know what I might be able to do? Let me do this. All graphics, 2 seconds. And let's go over here. And you guys are seeing the behind the scenes stuff. Okay. So does this help people out right here? Does this help you guys out? Puppet Shark. Wait. Puppet Shark, does this help you out? Good. Thank you, Puppet Shark. This is every single graphic with what goes with what. So it's color coded. Big help right here. I'll try to remember this during class to show this off, but this is a huge summary. Thank you to my fiance. This is not my handwriting because my handwriting is horrible. But you have your Y variable and your X variable, and some of these are univariate. So if you look right here, the reason we have, oh, you can't see my I can't go over these. Can I highlight? Well, darn it. I can't. Oh, you know what I could do? I can fly. Let me do this. Where am I? I won't be in front of this. 2 seconds, everybody. I have to bring this way down. I'm making it so I can move around the screen. And then I'll just speak briefly about this. And I should be almost here. Okay, there we go. Let me see if I appear. There I am. Okay, cool. What does everyone explain what this box is here that I am like currently over? Can you explain what this box is here? Like this box right here, I'm going to disappear in a moment, but those displays right here are what? Like these displays, there we go. These displays right here.
These displays right here are what? Like this green stuff? What's going on with it? Tiny Brown's here to teach. Explain what these are.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bivariate categorical display of data. Does that make sense? Tiny Brown.
Tiny Brown.
So these are bivariate categorical displays of data. Let me go back to me. There we go. I think that's the right me. I shouldn't do these things. I shouldn't change around my layout. What is the idea with this? And why do I have this right here? What's the deal with this? And then why do we put this right here? Like what's going on with these? And then we made them green. So this is all color coded. I really like that. We worked very hard on this. So I got to remember to use the resources I've created. What's going on with these right here? This is an amazing graphic that literally summarizes everything you need to know. Everything that I'm over right now is bivariate. So all of these graphics right here, everything within my area is bivariate. Does that make sense, Sarah? That everything in here is bivariate. And then these two up here, because there's no variable over here, these are univariate. Does that make sense what's going on there, Sarah? That everything I'm over right now is bivariate. These have a combination. So the box I'm currently in, sorry, I'm going to put myself inside the box. So this box right now that I'm currently in is a what display of data. And this is a huge help for this. So like, look at this box, do the connection between it, and this is a what. And so it is bivariate because it has two variables, and then look at the combo it has of stuff. And then we made these blue since they're quantitative. It's bivariate quantitative. And then this up here, this box that I'm in now, is a what display of data. I should not do these types of things. I'm going to mess up my whole display. So these all right here, histograms, box plots, stem and leaves, dot plots are all what? This is a really good review of like what you need to know. Like you should have these on note cards and be like, oh, a histogram and a box plot go together. Histograms show you the shape better. Box plots are kind of smaller. Stem and leaves show you the numbers, which are bad for large amounts of data. This is all univariate quantitative. Exactly. Why does the ring chart have a little sad face on it? So why do ring charts have a sad face when we go over here to this? These are univariate categorical displays of data. You can make bar charts. You can make pies of your favorite bars of your favorite pies. Pareto's are bar charts that have been put in order. Frequency table just shows you the counts of observations. And then no one likes ring charts. I don't like ring charts. Actually, you know what? I think I saw some recently. I was like, oh, those don't look so horrible. But ring charts are pie charts with the center just taken out of it. Going down here to this one, logistic regression, which I can do one in a moment if people want. Logistic regression is something we won't do in this class. That's why I put donut charts right here. Do you pair bar and frequency? Actually, you know what? 320 is doing that. 320 is literally going to make a bar chart and a frequency table here. And I'll show that next year for 320 to show how to make a bar chart and a frequency table. Yeah, I don't have a quick button to turn this off right now. What the heck? What'd it say? Alexa's reminding me it's my dad's birthday, but it's not my dad's birthday. What are you doing, Alexa? Here's mosaic plots, contingency tables. If you look, these are green right here. I'm going to go super tiny. Yeah, the pairing helps right there, I think. And you see these are green because they're categorical and they're purely categorical. The ones that are black are kind of a combination of stuff. So these are side-by-side box plots and side-by-side histograms. You're basically just putting them into groups. You're making groups of histograms, groups of box plots. And what's really great, and so we'll go back to normal size here. And so hopefully this helps people. Where is this? All variable display, all graphics right here. There we go. So in 320, they are doing that this week. If we go over here to bar chart, supply a table of values. So guess what, 320? We're doing a little bit of your assignment real quick. And for people who are freaked out by these things, I'm going to show you one thing. Watch this. I'm going to show you how to take some data, which I've already loaded in here. I think they're using survey. I'm going to use survey 10. They might use the wrong one. Which of these variables do you think can be displayed in a bar chart frequency table? Look on here and they're in a bar chart frequency table. Which of these variables on the screen could be displayed in a bar chart or frequency table? My screen did something weird. Which of the... And pi does go with Pareto. Pareto, nice job, Kayla, right there. Gender, And why? Because these are categorical. These are categorical variables. And if you're ever worried, you can always go here to your data. And we're using survey 11. And you could look, and I think if we have it wide enough, you can see which ones are factors. So if you see factor on it, that means it's categorical. These are quantitative. This is categorical. So you can kind of get hints looking at the data right there to know what it is. And so we're going to go right here. And remember we code in? Everyone knows what we code in.
Little bits.
We code in little bits right there. We're just going to take a look at the gender vector really quick. So the gender vector has just MF, all that right there. And with this, how do you think? What do you think I could put before this? So 201, anybody, what do you think I could put before this to make it a table? To make this a table, what do you think I could write before it? Just take a wild guess. So we have the vector. How do you think I could turn it into a table? I hope 201's like, wait, that's how you just have to code? Caitlin, let's throw Caitlin, everyone 20 points right here. There you go. That's it. Caitlin, are you 201? Because if so, you just beat all the 320s. We're throwing some 20 points in the chat right there. You were just like, boom. Caitlin just knew it right there before everybody, like, table? Okay, wait. Just to Caitlin. Let's see here. I think it'll work. If I wanted to plot this data, which I think this will, okay. This one's more complicated. Let's do this. I think this will work. If I wanted to plot this now, how could I plot this table? I think this will work. I'll show 320 some stuff probably during office hours. How do you think I could plot this? Sorry, I'm asking like more questions. Only 201 can answer these. How would I plot this data? So I'm doing a new function on this table. And I think there's two ways. I think plot should work. Oof, we don't want it to look like that. That doesn't look so good. I'm going to go over here and go to bar chart. Oh, look at that. I didn't know that. And then let's go over here to main and go to bar chart of gender. There you go. There's your graphic. Nice and easy. This is R, completely free. And we already have our graphic and everything good. I'm going to see something really crazy. Yeah, visually appealing too. You can go over here and do this. Call equals. You could say orange. and it should go to orange, or you can go to hashtag FF8200, and that is UT orange now. So we now have the official, what's up, Alexander? Good to see you here. And if we don't want it this way, we can say horizontal equals false. And now look at that. We have and guess what? It'll augment to the window right here. It should. There it goes. So we now have looked all crazy there for a second. We could change the axis titles, all these different things. We've just, done a lot more different things, and we're just going to make the code look a little bit nicer right here. We're going to put each argument. You don't have to do this much. We're not going to be grading on how fancy do your graphics look. We could change it back to a horizontal by changing this to true. And what usage do people use this platform for? Sorry, stats, serious question. Yeah, no, this is like stats is a big one, and data analytics, but you could use this like, Megan, if you don't mind me asking, what's your major? For visualizations, they shouldn't be too hard. If you ever think the grading is too hard, Cameron, let me know. Mention your numbers. So anytime you're working with data, Megan, especially time series data, you could use this for, I think it actually links in. I don't do this. We need to do more SQL stuff. You can link in SQL, and I'm pretty sure supply chain is going to have people using SQL to do database stuff. Yeah, if you want to know more about it, let me know. Basically, whenever you're working with data, this is a great way to work with data. There's so many data analytics programs out there, but yeah, exactly. So you can link in, Python, RCPP, Stan. I don't even know what that means. I do not know what Stan is. I know that, but R is the main one. So these are the different coding things you can put in here to run code. So it's really, I think it's pretty. So for 320, anyone comments from 320 right now, and then we'll hop maybe more to 201 talks. But if you notice, we were able to we can also make the table appear for this. Let's go here to table and survey. It auto completes, and we go here to gender, and there you go. And we could change the variable and all this good stuff. So yeah, I don't think this is too bad for this week. I actually just completed part of your assignment right here. But then if you notice, it says afterwards, interpret your bar chart by supplying. Oh, and then I did something bad. The code should go down here. A big thing is when you knit this, make sure when you knit this is huge for 320. Okay, what's it got? Oh, the sample size. Because we need to take a random sample. Oh, yeah, so huge things for 320. I mean, I literally made this assignment. Put in your student ID. Mine's going to be 555. And now it'll take my random sample. That's the only thing you should need to change there. Oh, is it? Oh, because that's not big enough. Because it needs to take, yeah. Let's run this again. And is it mad? Please don't be mad. This is what happens. I'll break things. Let's see where the code breaks. Good. It should be fine. Sample size. What's the sample size? And should be taken from survey 11. Cannot take a sample larger than the population. What's the sample size? 65. 1 through... Oh, no. Oh, we're going to have to change this really quickly. What questions are there? I think I was using survey 10 and then I switched to survey 11. Whoops. That's going to be changed really quickly. Re-uploading this because it won't work if someone has an ID that's too high. I switched. There's more questions in survey 11, so I switched while I was making this. There's not enough rows to take that observations. So 400 plus the last 2 of the ID will be taken. And then this is going to be called my sample. And my sample will be the certain rows. And now let's see if it knits. Never make changes halfway through doing something. Could not find function bar chart. Where's bar chart in? Oh, no wonder people wouldn't have that. It's in lattice. So library lattice. And now knit, last chart here. What's it say? Uh-oh. Aggregate. Oh, I know why. This is because this right here, we're commenting that out. This is actually really big. I want to point something out right here. All this work I'm doing right here, all of this work I just did shows 320 if you're here. Kayla, if you're still here, how many times did Brian just fail while knitting? If you count them, I think I failed like 5 times while trying to knit my assignment. And this is I'm literally hopefully going to label this part of the video. Do not wait to knit till like 11 p.m. at night. Because if you're in 320, and this is big for 320, when you're knitting this assignment, you should probably be knitting while you're working on the assignment, because it'll crash if you have something in your code that you shouldn't have. Like right now, this is awaiting variables. Like I have a thing right here so that you can input your variables, replace the question marks with your variables. But because of these question marks, this code won't run. Like this is not proper code. And so when I tried to knit it, it got to this chunk and it failed. And it's like, I don't know what to do here. This is not really code right now. So I used what's called block comment, Command-Shift-C, or Control-Shift-C to comment those all out. Code in little bits, exactly, Kayla. Knit in little bits, exactly, Kayla, right there. Let's throw another 20 points. This is huge because someone's going to be emailing me on, what is it, Sunday night and say, Brian, my thing won't knit. So I would be working on this in little bits. You can comment these things out. Do not wait till Sunday night to try to knit everything and be like, this won't knit. You can always just try to knit. I'm knitting the HTMLs just faster right now. This will be knitted toward at the end, and then you could put these in. I want to see one last thing, Kayla, and if this works, I'm going to be so happy. Please don't do this if you're 320. I'll explain why in a moment. Let's just call this graphic. I need to undo this once I do it. Let's go library Plotly. I've got all the cool libraries. ggplotly. Graphic. No, it doesn't like it. Exactly what I thought would happen. It's not a ggplotly object. It can't do that. Okay, didn't work. So poly applied to object. Yeah, it's an error. Won't do it. What questions are there? This is your time to choose anything you want. We talked a little bit about 320 and their assignment. So hopefully, Kayla, this gives you a good start on it. Make sure to do things like talking about what's going on with the graphics. You don't want to just display them and be like, here's my work. You want to display them and then talk about them. Part of your grade is talking someone through this and making sure someone understands what's going on with this table of numbers right here, and then walking them through all of this. And yeah, and then submit your RMD and submit your work. Yeah, Viz 6 write-up. Nice job. Excellent work. We got Viz 6. Anything more to study for Canvas content quiz? Oh yeah, let's finish that up. We'll finish this up, Canvas content quiz, so we know our graphics. Probably the biggest thing is a contingency table. Let's make a contingency table here inside of R. All we have to do is table. And what 2 variables should I pick? Let me go to a different sheet so it doesn't look like I'm doing this assignment. What 2 types of variables should I pick to make a contingency table? So this is a big thing you should know. What 2 types of variables should I pick to make a contingency table? So what 2 types of variables should I pick? And the answer's on the screen. What 2 types of variables should I pick to make a contingency table? Great job right there. It'll be categorical. Contingency tables go with mosaic plots, and they are bivariate displays of categorical data. Now, this right here could say, and I wish it had the totals. Well, so let's cheat. This is something we'll be doing in 320 this week. So this is a really good review for both classes. So this bridges 320, 201 gap. And this is something we'll be doing in 320. Here we go. I want you to look at this graphic right here just right now, and I want you to tell me, what do you notice about males versus females? Just look at the mosaic plot. What do you notice about males versus females? So this is where it looks to me like there's an association. So what do you notice about, and I think the black is no, I wish I weighed less. Let me see if I can get that displayed as you. Will that display now? Really? There it is. There it is. What do you notice about males versus females here? Should be pretty, jumps out to you immediately. More women wish they weighed less. Exactly. So you can see over half of women wish they weighed less. Around 26% of men wish they weighed less. But then a sizable portion of men wish they weighed more. And literally, what's so interesting is there is not a single lady. I crack myself up sometimes. Who wishes they weighed more. And so you do see this interesting. Does everyone see this is kind of we talked about mosaic plots in the class, but there's a clear association to me that gender in some part plays a role in how much people wish they weighed, where we can see that the only people wishing they weighed more are men, and a great majority of women wish they weighed less. I mean, I'll just say it. I wish I weighed less. I'm at like 195 now, and I like being around 180. So I would fall into this group, which is the second smallest group of men. Females are more likely to wish they weighed less, as opposed to men are content, and men are more content. Over half of men are content with their weight. So here's a great question. You ready? Let's go to the table. So I want to do this output right here, and I need to make the screen bigger so we can see it all on one screen. And let's go to this table right here. Let me make the output big enough to see it. Okay, we're going to go to this table right here. There's the information we're using. So the question is, I'm trying to remember how it's phrased in the Canvas content. I want to say it like exactly like it. How is it like? I was showing my fiance last night. She's like, "Yeah, it is phrased a little bit weird." She was like, "I would say the answer, but I do see how people could misunderstand it." Because I think the of is second. Gosh, I just can't. Let me go look at it real quick on here because someone sent it to me via email. So I want to phrase it exactly the way it is on the Canvas content. Okay. What percent of responses choose? Yeah, okay, cool. Let me go away from this now. Okay, so here we go. What percent of the females chose that they... Oh, wait, are there two people who wish they weighed more? Oh my gosh, no way. How is that not barely showing up on there? Wow, I was wrong. I don't know why that's not showing up graphically over here. I feel like there's an error in that graphic right now. What percent... Maybe it's just so small I can't draw it. I've never seen that error. What percent of the females... Let me see the exact phrasing of this again. What percent of the females... What percent of people said they were female chose that they wished they weighed less? What percent of the responses that are females... We're talking about that right now, Abby. We're talking about Canvas content quiz right now. What percent of the females wish they weighed more? So what will be the mathematics? Oh, I might have said less to begin with. That might be the right answer. Sarah, is that currently... Let's look at the mathematics on this. So if I said wish they weighed less... And that's a conditional distribution. Nice job, Kayla, right there. That is a conditional distribution. And we'll be doing this in 320 probably today. So, and then exactly, Sarah, this is a conditional distribution. Does everyone see right here? This is a conditional distribution. This is great for 320 and 201. What is this down here? 201, help out for some 20 points. This is a what distribution? So if I said what percent of people wish they weighed less, you would do the mathematics 291 over 628. What is that distribution I've highlighted down there? So if I said what percent of... You are correct, Sarah. Nice job. 20 points, everyone in chat. Sarah, you're right. That is a marginal distribution. So where is the other marginal distribution? The other marginal distribution is going to be right here. So this is one of the marginal distributions right here. This is the marginal distribution of male-female. And then we have the marginal distribution of what people wish they weighed. So just so you can see marginal distribution of male-female right there. Does that make sense? There's two marginal distributions and the distributions in the margin. Now you can do a conditional distribution like given somebody is satisfied with their weight. So this is the conditional distribution of given someone is satisfied with their weight. Does that make sense to everybody right here? That this is a conditional distribution of given you are satisfied with your weight, what is the probability of being male? And so given somebody's satisfied with their weight, the probability of being male is 155. So it could say of the people who are satisfied with their weight, what percent are males? So definitely try to see, is this question asking for everybody or is it doing a conditional versus marginal? And this is big right here because this is what we're doing in 320. So if you notice, if you're worried about 320, if you're going to take it eventually, you're like, wait a minute, we're doing this in 201. And what's really awesome is I want to point to this format right here. And then I think we're going to do Sarah's question next. Thank you so much, Sarah, waiting patiently. And then we're going to do visualization. I want you to see this format right here, 320. This format is y tilde x comma data equals name of data frame. Y tilde x comma data equals data frame. So you just put in your y variable, your x variable, and the name of the data frame. So I could literally change this right here to another y variable. Let's attach the data frame so it'll autocomplete. And what's so awesome about this is we could go here to like, let's go here to x04 and its weight. So we could look at people's weights by gender and it gives you all the output. Does this look like, and this is something you'll be doing, is it for this visualization? I'm trying to think. I think, yeah, this is this week. Yep. This is your last visualizations for this week, Kayla and everyone else for 320. And then we're going to do 201. But I mean, yeah, 201 visualization 6. But does this make sense? Let me ask 320 real quick. Does it make sense what you are viewing here when I say, let's explain people's weight by their gender? And then I want you to look at these graphics over here on the far side. And look at what we have. We have side-by-side box plots. So remember all this right here? When we do a quantitative Y and a categorical X, we get side-by-side box plots and stacked histograms. So we have a quantitative Y and a categorical X, side-by-side box plots. These histograms are side-by-side histograms. Sure, basically the same thing. And then we get QQ plots, which are going to check for normality, which we've actually already seen. Nope, we'll be seeing that this week in 201. So 201 this week, you will see this. Let's just talk briefly on these. The way to tell if a QQ plot is normal is what? I'm going to throw 50 points if anyone knows this answer. This is a big thing for 201 and 320. Who knows how to tell if this is normal or not normal? This is a big thing, so listen in. This is for 201 and 320. You'll see it in both classes. How can you tell if a normal probability plot, also known as a QQ plot, is normal versus not normal? Kayla, without yes, I was going to give some hints here. Kayla, and basically if it follows a straight line. Oh, I said 50 points. So let's add another 30 to that. If it follows a straight line. We don't really think of it as like a linear relationship. We just say, does it follow the red line in the middle? So just to show you, I'm going to make some random normal data. And this is just generating, look, since this is all normal data. So if this is all normal data, how should this histogram look? I promise you this is normal data. So this is all normal data. How does a normal looking histogram look? Let me get the next example ready while you think that over. How does a normal looking histogram look? A normal looking histogram should look what? So remember, this is all just normal data. Everything's normal looking. So how would a normal histogram look? We should know this pretty instantaneously. Normal looking histogram looks... I'll give some hints. Here's the hint. That's how it should look, but describe it in words. Unimodal, nice job, Kayla, right there. It's unimodal and what else? Unimodal and... I can't do the thing. Can't do the thing. Very few outliers and symmetric. Nice job, Miranda, right there. So that's how it looks. Now, how should the QQ plot look? How should a QQ plot look for normal data? So remember, just this is practice. We should know the normality plot, the QQ, it's called a normal probability plot sometimes. How should the normal probability plot look, which basically shows us the probability it is normal look? When it's normal, it should look what? This is big for 201. You're learning chapter 5, which we'll learn this week, and also 320 is covering it. That's why I'm focusing on this for a moment, because both classes will be doing this week. Haley, you're 100% right, linear. Oh, this is in reg class. Library reg class. Oh, is it mad about the data? There. 2 seconds. Let's go save. That's untitled 15. Untitled 15. And let's go here. Let's pull back up. Hopping back in right here. And untitled 15. There we go. Okay, let's run it again. Oh, because... And here we go. This is important right here. It's important to see that we have right here that this is very linear. And now I want you to look at this data, which does not look like a normal histogram. So instead of it looking linear, it will not look linear. Does everyone see, and let's call this data 1 and data 2, does everyone see the difference right here between normal looking data will have a straight line for the QQ plot. Data that is skewed will have a non-normal looking. Just to contrast, this data is normal, this data is not normal. Does this make sense right here with these? Normal data right here, not normal data here. Don't worry if there's a point or two that goes out slightly. We could probably generate one of these that looks slightly off, but is still normal. These are all normal. Every single thing I'm doing right here is normal data. I'm just doing it a whole bunch so we can see all of these are normal, even if, let's make a little bit of a weird one that just was randomness, came out not normal. I saw one and I skipped it. This one right here has a bend right here, but you're just gonna be like, I'm sure it's okay. This looks mostly normal, follows this red line down the center. So that's key right here, understanding what these normality plots are, these QQ plots. They let us know how normal the data is. So if you saw this right here, you'd be like, that looks pretty normal. The QQ plot should be a straight line, and it is. If you saw this, you'd be like, that's very skewed. The QQ plot's not gonna, this data right here. And the null is that it is normal. This is big for 320 and 201. The null is that it is normal. Do you think you should reject that null for this data or not reject that null? Do you think you should reject this as normal or not reject? Do you think you should reject this as normal or not reject? Should you reject normality for this or not reject normality for this? Not reject. Exactly. We should not reject that it is normal. So who knows, when the p-value is low, reject the null. When the p-value is high, just let it fly. When the p-value is low, reject the null. When the p-value is high, just let it fly. So will the p-value be high or low for this? When the p-value is low, reject the null. And the null for this is that the data is normal. So when the p-value is low, reject the null. How far would it be from the red line to be considered abnormal? That's the thing, Cameron. It's purely like an eyeball thing, except if you do this, which gives you a p-value. And as Sarah said, the p-value would be high right here. So now we actually have a numeric quantity to be like, okay, the p-value is high. I don't reject the null. When the p-value is low, this value right here, reject the null below 0.05. And when the p-value is high, you just let the null fly. The null, and I'll write it right here, null is that the data is normal. If the p-value is low, we reject. Alternative is that the data is not normal. So we do not have a low enough p-value to reject null. When the p-value is low, reject the null. If the p-value is high, just let it fly. Nice job, Alexander. That's exactly it. So think about this one. When you have this data right here, it's skewed to the right. It's super bent like this. Now, what do you think here? Will this p-value when we do this test be low or high? Will this p-value be low or high? Remember, the null is that the data is normal, and it looks like this. We're assuming it's normal. We're like, well, let's assume that that data is normal and then run a test to see if it's normal. Do you think it's going to be kind of low? You say you're right. Do you think it'll be kind of low or super low? Kind of low or super low? Kind of low or super low? It's going to be ridiculously low. It's going to say 0.0001 probably. Or there you go. It says this right here, this value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's, I did one too many zeros. That's the value right there. That is the p-value, and it's just reporting back a number so small that it's just like, yeah, scientific notation, ridiculously small p-value. So it's saying that we have extreme evidence that the data is not normal. Is that making sense to everybody? 320, this is a good review. 201, this is new topics. Towards the end of the semester, we'll be getting into statistical testing, and every test has its null and alternative. Whenever you do a test, you have to ask, what is the null, what is the alternative? And then we would reject normality for this one, and we would not reject normality for this one. So to go back to the question of when does it look not normal, usually we just look at it like this, and we say, I don't know. Let's look at these real quick. Do you think, so here's how we do it in 320, you ready? Do you think this is enough of a deviation for us to say it's not normal? What do you think Ooh, we're going to do one last thing with this, and Sarah, we're doing a question next. Who thinks this looks normal or not normal? Who thinks this looks normal or not normal? What do you think, normal or not normal? I'd say not normal. That's exactly it. Alexander, you're doing 320 right now. You'd say it's not normal. So now we go back, since we said it's not normal, and we have to ask the following. Since we said it's not normal, do you think we should compare the mean or medians? Since we said it's not normal, do you think we should compare the means or there it is, that's the means, or the medians? Sarah, you're right. Did we do this in 201? Were we doing this just literally a week ago in 201? And let's make the output look a little bit nicer. But now this is 320 covered this week. Because it's not normal, we're going to compare the medians and the IQRs. You're exactly right. If we want to look at spreads, we'll compare the IQRs. And look at this. The median weight for females is 130. The median weight for males is 170. And now we have another p-value. The null for this is that there's no difference between the medians. And the alternative would be what? I know, let's throw another 20 points. Alexander, you're just doing amazing. You are earning your title. What do you think the alternative would be that we have evidence of right now? What do you think the alternative would be, which is kind of a no-brainer? What do you think the alternative would be that we have evidence of? The null is that there is no difference between the medians of males and females. We're going to reject that null and have evidence what? So I'd say I reject the null that there's no difference between the medians of males and females, and I have evidence of what? And if you've been following along to this, you've gotten a huge review of a lot of topics, an important foundation for what we'll be doing. So I say I reject that there is no difference between the medians of males and females. Yeah. Oh, did someone mention Rain Noreen? Yeah. Sorry, Cameron, I missed that right there. What would be the alternative? And then we're going to do Sarah's question. Then Cameron, we can do that after this. What will be the alternative right here? So for this one, it's a different null and alternative. For this test, null is no difference what would the alternative be? Exactly. Each test has its own null and alternative. This is a big thing to know, Alexander, that the null's not always this. That's when you're testing normality. What do you think the null for this test would be? This is our last question on this. If we were to test the averages, what do you think the null would be for testing averages between groups? The null for testing averages between groups would be what? Which this is a t-test right here, which we'll do in 201, and we'll do in 320. What would be the null for the t-test for the means between the groups? So think about how we talked about the null for this test, and each test has its own null. We'll throw another 20 points, because I know someone's going to get the null for this test right here. Just think, well, you're right, but explain it fully. Like, be like, oh, the null for this test that you're highlighting right here, Brian, would be what? We'll throw some 20 points. Just what will be the null for this test? This is where students usually get stuck and they don't know what the null is. There is no difference between the means. Exactly, Kayla. And then what will be the alternative? You're exactly right. Sorry, I said it's the last question. So the null for this test on the averages between males and females is that there's no difference between the means of males and females. And then the alternative would be what? Which, if the null is that there's no difference between the means, because we're looking at this test, there is a difference between the means. Yep. So then we have evidence that there is a difference between the means, but we're not going to use this test because the data is skewed. We're going to use this test, testing the medians, and we do have evidence that there is a difference between the medians, because we can reject the null and say we do have evidence of a difference between the medians. Okay, let's hop to Sarah's question. Sarah, thank you for waiting so patiently. Did this make sense to people as we do some slightly advanced topics today? These were a little tricky bit of questions right here. Congested, no. But really good work right there. Let's hop. Those were some, like, we hit some like end of material 201, some 320 topics. So that is really, really good review. And let's hop in here. I think I have an issue with the wordage. Yeah. Put the words you have an issue with. We'll come back to that. And thank you so much. I love when we have so many questions that I'm like, let's do this next. Let's do this next. Visualization number 6. Let's just talk a little bit about the write-up on this. So visualization number 6, decision trees. So just a little bit on the visualization number 6 write-up right here. When you do visualization number 6, And we did this in office hours Thursday last week or so. Include a short write-up, the names of the predictor variables excluded. So these variables right here, we mentioned last week, are variables that act like identifiers, and you're removing them thusly because of that. Just briefly describe them, talk over which variables you're removing. This variable has too many levels. It acts like an identifier. If you're worried about which variables, you can check with me, but make sure to do that. Based on your decision tree, list the characteristic of students who are expected to have the highest salary. So we need to do that. And include the number. So we only need to do the highest salary on average after graduating, including the number of students and the anticipated salary starting for each of these groups. For this group, okay, good. So we want to talk about the characteristics of a group. Where will you look in your data to find out the characteristics of a group? So I'm going to make a very quick decision tree right here. I'll make one that looks like yours. This is not how to make your decision tree. I'm just making a very, very quick one right here. Do I still have the variables? Nope, don't want that one. Okay, so hint. Well, one, don't do it like this. I'm just making a very quick one. And let's look at high school GPA. So if I want to look at which people have the highest high school GPA, just a very quick decision tree right here, how would I look at, and this is something we'll be doing a little bit later, how would I look at the characteristics of the group, which is this group right here? How would I figure it? Well, one, I can just look right here. Do you notice the mean of this group is 415? The mean of this group is 374. The mean of this group is 367. The mean of this group is 317. And what do you notice about people? Here's the answer. What do you notice about people who have the highest GPA? What do you notice about the people who have the highest GPA on average? Like, how would you describe this group that has the highest GPA? How would you describe them? Pretty easy to describe this group. Yours might not be this easy. And then I'll describe the lowest group, which I think you only have to describe the highest group. So I'd say something like there are 123 individuals. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a tree right here. This is literally the tree, and then you just go back up this way, or you could go down this way. Great job, Alexander. Understanding how to read this is important, that you're breaking this into groups. Like, these are the people in the honors program. That's the only characteristic. Yeah, which one are you working on, Ansley? If you want to copy the question into the chat, copy paste the question, and we can do that. Yeah, copy paste the question, and then we'll do that, Ansley. You got it. We'll do that next right here. So copy paste it in, and we will do that. And I might even pull it up because then I can find the question. So there's 123 individuals right here with an average GPA of 4.15. I'm just going to round it, or 4.155 if you want to round there, who are in the honors program. These are the individuals with the highest GPA. The individual with the lowest GPA were individuals, and you can follow it down right here. These individuals who had the lowest GPA were 14 individuals who had an average GPA of 3.17, and they are not in the honors program. They work greater than or equal to 36 hours a week, and they describe themselves as an economic class that their family economic class is lower class, middle class, lower class or middle/upper class. Above a contingency table, you bet. Let's do this one right here. It's on DC superheroes. So let's do that one. And then let's see if we have anything else to comment, because Sarah was asking about this. Thank you for waiting, everyone, so patiently. Based on your decision tree, list the characteristics of students who are expected to score the lowest, include the number of students and the anticipated average. Hopefully this makes sense, Sarah. We just did the highest and lowest group for the decision tree I made right here. Just looking down at the leaf report, and your output should look something like this, and you might have to take multiple screenshots. Make sure to take some clear and multiple screenshots. I don't think it said anything about R squared, which I wish it did. You're welcome, Sarah. So you should know how to interpret R squared. I wish it said something about R squared. This is not included, but this is a rather bad decision tree. It only explains 7.3% of the variation in high school GPA. So my decision tree explains 7.3% of the variation in high school GPA. Just make sure to do things in your report like mention your omitted variables, 1. So 1, mention the omitted variables. 2, mention the highest group and mention the lowest group, talk about the number of individuals, talk about those characteristics, also mention the average of what you would expect. So basically you're just going through this right here and doing all the information. Can I highlight just that one portion? No, I can't. That's got it. Great work, Sarah. Excellent, excellent work. Let's go grab the question. I'm going to hop back here to space. Ainsley has a question. I need to make my all graphics thing. There we go. And then Marvel. Okay. We're going to do Ainsley's question right here. I need to find it, though. So one moment, everybody, as we go back and go grab that one right here. Canvas content quiz. Edit. Questions. And here's this right here. Okay, let's go grab it. Here we go. So let's look at this. I might not do the exact version of it. I might do a very similar one. I now have that question. Cool. Okay. Above is a contingency table of comic book superheroes by the publisher of respective comic books. What percent of superheroes were not from the publisher DC? So what percent of the superheroes were not from the publisher DC? So when we look at this, it wants to know basically all superheroes. So what percent of the superheroes were not? So what kind of distribution are we thinking about right here? I'm not going to give away the answer, but what kind of distribution when we say what percent of the superheroes were not from the publisher DC? What kind of distribution is this? I'll give a hint. So when we have what percent of the superheroes were not from the publisher DC, this is the information we need to look at, and this is the what distribution. So what percent of the superheroes were not from the publisher DC? And it might be, I think that's the right amount. And then we can do percent. Hey, what's up, Eric? So good to see you. Eric, you know one thing I really like and that I miss? Eric on one of our videos got us to the most likes we had ever gotten. Eric, so good to see you, and I miss seeing you around campus. Eric was like, everybody liked the video, and then we got like so many likes. And so it makes me smile when we get a bunch of likes on the video. We don't have to. I don't mind. You're free to like the video or not like the video. You can hit dislike. Apparently dislikes help the algorithm too, because it's interaction. YouTube just wants to know you're actually there watching the video, and you know, I don't know. It's a bunch of people have tested out the algorithm and stuff. This right here, make sure to enter it in. Eric, we have so many new things. We have MuBot here. We got so many new things. We've made so many improvements. You took the class a year and a half ago. We got so many new things. So many new things. Maybe Eric's still here. But is this making sense, Ansley, as to how to solve this problem? And make sure to enter in your answer as follows. Oh, yeah. So this right here is a conditional distribution. And why is it conditional? Because we're not looking at the superpowers of the superhero. We're not saying like, given someone has agility, what is the probability they're from DC? That would be that'd be a conditional distribution, excuse me. That'd be a conditional. Yes, it makes sense. Awesome. So make sure to enter in when it says to enter it in this way. So you just divide that by the total. Yeah. Well, and then make sure to enter it in as a, like not as a decimal. Like I don't want to give the answer in the video, but I think just make sure to, like when you enter it in, don't enter, like let's say the answer, like let's say we did some mathematics and we got this. What would you, if this was our answer, what would you answer in? Like, let's hypothetical. Someone's going to put this in as their answer. Like, this is not the answer. If you're watching this on mute, someone's looking at this and be like, oh, that's the answer. That's not the answer. So, Alexander might know the answer. Exactly, Ansley. Exactly. See, now people who watch this on mute don't know the answer. But if you are not watching this on mute, Alexander has put the correct mathematics. And so, yeah. Is this making sense? Hopefully this makes sense and we can take a few more questions right here. But remember what a marginal distribution is and what a conditional distribution is. And this is a marginal distribution right here because it only takes into account the publishers. And it's like what percent of the superheroes are from this publisher or not from this publisher. No, you're fine, Alexander. Don't worry. Don't worry. We like to give as much help as we can. And I think if you're following along and listening, and that's my goal, my goal has always been that people just can't like go through the video and like get answers by just like looking at the video. I want you to listen in and I want you to know that this is a what. Like, what do I keep repeating? That this is a what right here. You should know this term instantaneously, that this is a what. Like, if you know these terms, you're doing well. Like, you should know that this is a something and this is a something right here. You should know these terms instantaneously when you look at this and be like, oh, that's a contingency table. And both of those are the blanks of the contingency table. So what are those right there? You should know the terms for this pretty good by now. And we'll be doing this in 320. So good review for 320. What are those two things on the margins of a contingency table? Those two things on the margins of a contingency table are the what's of the contingency table. Oh, you're fine. They're the margins and the marginal distributions. So, yep, the margins, like the outside of the table has the margins, which have the marginal distributions. And then we could do any sort of conditional distribution. Like I could ask, what percent of invulnerable superheroes are from DC? Oh, no worries, no worries. What percent of invulnerable superheroes are from DC? Is there more Marvel invulnerable? So, what percent of invulnerable superheroes are from DC? And we would just go right here and do 45 over 117. Exactly. What additional questions are there? What are people working on? Let me know. Let's hop back into space right here. We are back in space. Exactly. Nice job, Alexander. Excellent work. We've done a lot of review today. Good officers. Did people want the rain, no rain problem? Are people still working on the... I think Cameron asked about rain, no rain. He might have asked rain, no rain. Let's see. No, we haven't put on any music today. Eric, if you're still here, we now have music. Oh, no worries. Get some music going here. Relaxing, just nice music. My hair is just going everywhere. Oh, the rain, no rain? It's a pretty tough problem. And definitely, I need to isolate that one and like maybe post it. Do you want us to go over it now, Cameron? I'm getting the work up right now as we speak. We've still got time. I don't want to leave yet. MyPearson's breaking. So feel free to ask your questions. It is open to any questions. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a short version of it. Should be there by the time the song ends. Exactly. Nice job right there, Alexander. So chapter 3. This is one of the first questions where people get stuck on. Is the rain, no rain. People just get to it and they're like, I got no idea. I don't know what this question is asking. I don't know how to do it. And here we are with the rain, no rain. Let's do it. Okay. Lower down the music here. Dang it. I need to put the fade outs on those. It's just this one. Yeah, no, this is one of the first ones where people get stuck. And let's go ahead and grab this table right here and understand how to read it. If you can read this table fully, then you know exactly what's going on with this question. Okay, so our goal is to understand this table. When you look at this table right here, I want you to understand there's two things that happen in any given day. You are going to wake up and you're going to listen to the forecast. Does that make sense right there? There's thing number one. And then you're also going to be outside and you're going to see if it rains or doesn't rain. So you will, nice job, Cameron. Thank you so much, Cameron. You're going to hear in the mornings, they're going to be on the broadcast saying, today it'll rain. And then during the day, it'll either rain or not rain. So I want you to pause here for a moment and understand this. If you are reading the table this way, then here is where it rains or does not rain. If you are reading the table this way, then is where the forecast will tell you. So here's where the forecast will tell you if it rained or did not rain. So we've got this color coding now to kind of help us out, that we understand if you're reading it left to right, like across here, this is telling you the forecast. This is telling you rain, no rain. So let's ask a question right here. Just very simple. Go very slowly. What was the forecast for this day? This day right here, I want to know what the forecast was for this day. What was the forecast? I think part of it might be that the forecast should be maybe over here and it'd make more sense. Like because it's on this row, it's a little bit more confusing. I wish they visually just put forecast over here on the side. And I think that would help people out. You know, let's just kind of do that for them. Because I really think that's where part of the issue is with this question is that you have forecast up here and it'd be easier if when you looked at this, instead of forecast being right there, forecast was over here. And I think that would make the question a lot easier to understand because, yeah, I think that's part of it. I get to think sometimes, is it just that this is a really tough question or that the way it's formatted looks kind of weird? And now the forecast, it's easier to see that this is forecast rain and this is forecast no rain. And so now if we look at this right here, see, some students just give up on this problem. They're like, whatever, I don't get what's going on. I understand. It's like if you work on a problem for 20, 30 minutes and you're like, I'm getting nowhere, and you're like, I got other work to do. I'm not learning anything with this problem that just doesn't make sense. So that's why I like to make videos on this. Let's look at these 6 days right here. How would you feel these 6 days? Tell me about your experience on these 6 days. I sound like a psychologist right now. Tell me about these 6 days that happened during the year. What happened on them? Like, just look at how it connects in on it. And let's go right here and do this. And then let's go right here and do this. So that's where we land with the 2 arrows. So you could do something like that, Alexander. That might help. And we'll see something interesting with this. It did rain. It did rain on these days. And what else? And how would you feel about these 6 days? Because it did rain, but what were you told about these 6 days? So it definitely rained. So Alexander, you're close. It's not that it rains 6 times. These are 6 days out of the year. So really good discussion we're having right now, because basically for a whole year you tracked the data. Exactly. You'd be mad on these 6 days because you're like, they said it was not going to rain today. Like they told you it would not rain on these 6 days, and then you went outside and it rained. Like you were walking around campus and it starts raining. You're like, they said it would not rain today. The forecast was wrong. So we see an interesting thing with these days right here, where the forecast is wrong on these days and the forecast is right on these days. So so here's a good question. How many days out of the year did it rain? How many days out of the year did it rain? So how many days out of the year did it rain? So those 6 days are days where it rained, where they said it would not rain. So those 6 days are days where it did rain, but they said it would not rain. That would be how many days of the year rain was forecasted. Now, don't worry. So if you want to know how many days of the year rain was forecasted, you would go this way, and this is how many days of the year rain was forecasted. That is how many days of the year rain was forecasted. Nice job, Cameron. Cameron gave how many days of the year it actually rained. So there is how many days of the year it actually rained. Is this making sense? This is really good practice, everyone. Thank you, Caitlin and Alexander and Cameron. We're throwing another 20 points. This question, a lot of people lose points on. If you know how to read the table, it really helps. And I think, Cameron, you came in asking the question, and look at how many people you're helping, Cameron, because don't worry about the wrong answers. And nice job, Caitlin, right there. Change the, I like JK. Is this starting to make more sense on how to read this? So if you want to look at how many days was rain forecasted, you would go across here, because that's the forecast, and these are how many days rain was forecasted. Is this making more sense? And this is basically all the answers right here. Yeah, I think it's the way the question is formatted too makes it more difficult. And this is definitely one of the questions where people get stuck on. But come to office hours if you're stuck on it. That's why, like we had some time here at the end. Even though this is already in a video, I wanted to cover it again. I'm never going to just say go to a video. Someone's going to like put a thing of me saying like, oh, check out this video now. But I'll usually say that if we're like doing like 10 things, I'm like, oh, we do have a video on that. But as soon as we get time, you're welcome, Cameron, you're welcome. Glad to help you out on this. As soon as we get a moment, we cover things we've already covered. So, but just look how many people this helped by covering it again. The antidepressant one, let's do that one. Did we get one of those versions of that yet? Where do we go? I'm actually going to solve it. So, the relapse rate for patients taking antidepressants. This is a what distribution? The relapse rate for patients taking antidepressants, this is a what distribution? So for or given patients took antidepressants. So given patients took antidepressants is a what distribution? So given patients took antidepressants. This is good terminology we should know. I'm setting, nice job, Alexander. That is a conditional. So given patients took antidepressants, the relapse rate was 7 divided by 40 there. So is that correct? I did something wrong. When your math looks too off. So that's 12 point, or is it 13? I think it's 13. We're going to trust it right there. This is what happens when you code too much. The relapse rate for the placebo was 30.4. And this looks to be, yes, there is. Be careful though, because depending on your question type, sometimes there is not an association. You can just see different versions. Here, the numbers are very close. You need to look at the percentages right here and see how close they are. We can do statistics on this. Ooh, who knows what the null would be for this? What would be the null hypothesis if you were to compare this? If you were to compare the relapse rate for antidepressant and placebo, what do you think the null would be? Yep. So these are conditionals. Great job, Cameron, right there. And great questions today. Definitely helping tons of people out. What do you think the null would be for the relapse rate for these two drugs? Remember how we did nulls earlier and we were talking about like the means are the same, the medians are the same. The normal distribution has a different null. The distribution's normal. What do you think the null for the relapse rates would be right here? Close. We might assume that you can set the null to that. Technically, like a statistician would say, technically you can set them both to that. We have two groups, and we're looking at how often each group relapses. So what do you think the null would be for group 1 versus group 2? That their relapse rates would be the what? So what do you think the null would be for the two groups? I might be able to do this pretty quickly. The null for the two groups would be what? What would be the null for the two groups? The null for the two groups would be that the two groups... Can we do it over here? I don't know if we can. I don't know how to do a two-prop test. So we're talking about these two groups right here. This is an advanced question to kind of end office hours. We're talking about these two groups that we have, and we want to know the relapse rate. We want to know the relapse. That's it. It is prop test. You just do two vectors. So I'll show this and I'll explain the answer really quick right here because we're ending office hours and everything. So when you have two groups, and I can see it right there, I'm going to take the sample size for one group. The sample size for this group is 54. The other sample size is 46. We can see notation. What was it? It was 54 and 46. 54, 46. And then I'm going to look at the relapse rate of 18 and 15 respectively. 18 and 15. And this is key notation we need to know. And the null would be that the relapse for these two groups are what between each other? Or there's what between the relapse rates? So what do you think the null would be for the relapse rates for each group? So what do you think the null would be for the relapse rates? And that's a hint right there. What do you think the null would be for the relapse rate between the groups, Alexander? Let's throw 20 points. Advanced talk right here for the relapse rates. I know someone will figure it out. Office hours are over, but the null for the relapse rates would be what? Kind of look over here at this null. So the null is what the placebo had 15 people relapse. Does that make sense? So the antidepressant had 18 people relapse in that group, and the placebo out of the 46 had 15 people relapse. Does that make sense, Alexander? Like you're going to have two groups. You're going to say, you're going to take, you don't tell them what they take probably. You're taking this one, and 18 out of the 54 relapsed with the antidepressant, and 15 out of the 46 relapsed with the placebo. And so what would you assume about the relapse rates? You would assume the relapse rates have what? No difference. So remember how these numbers are kind of close? What does it give? Warning. Oh, that's graphical error. Stop that graphic. Stop it. Notice the p-value right here. The p-value, wow, it's actually 1? Wow. Because there's really no difference between the groups. But let's say this group was relapsing a whole bunch. Now the p-value is very small. I'll make it so it actually looks like a decimal. Hopefully I haven't gone too far above everyone's head. But now we have a low p-value right here, which would give evidence that there is a difference between the relapse between the groups. Does this make any sense, Alexander? I'm going to end here in like 1 minute. We'll put on a little chill music here to end class. Did I lose everybody? Did I completely lose everyone? No! So the null would be that there is no difference between the relapse between each groups. The null is, you're welcome, Leslie. The null is often a thing we don't need evidence for. Like if I said, does drug A or drug B work better? The null would be, what about the drugs? That they work what to each other? Like we're going to test drug A and drug B. will be a good null hypothesis without any evidence to believe anything. So we have two drugs we're going to use, and we're like, well, we want to see if drug A or drug B is better. So it would be a good null about drug A and drug B, which is the same for like placebo versus real drug. Will be a good null. Like we have two drugs and we don't know which works better, so the null hypothesis would be what between the two drugs? The null is often something we don't need evidence for, a starting out belief that you would not need data to back. So if you had drug A and drug B and you knew nothing about them, you just say they probably work the what? Without evidence, you would say, well, they have no difference in effect. Exactly. So that's what we're assuming with these two groups, is unlikely that the differences we observed are due to random chance. And thus we would say that this difference between the groups, which is estimated to be between this and this percent, between about 5% to 35%, that you would say people who are on the people who are on the placebo are about, oh no, Alexander, I hate hearing them, so sorry. This is advanced. This is good for a 320. This is pretty advanced stuff. If you got this completely, you'd be near the end of 201. So I think it just helps to hear things. I think it helps to review things. The more you hear them, the more it just starts to make sense. The first time you hear these stats things, they're going to seem pretty odd, but it's just practice. Do you possibly go to the question on Canvas quiz? Yeah, let's do one real quick here. So let's look at this. Extreme dark chocolate. So when you look at this one right here, we say what percent of responses choose dislike of the extreme dark chocolate. What kind of distribution are we asking for? So when we say what percent of responses choose dislike of the extreme dark chocolate, what kind of distribution are we asking for? What kind of distribution are we asking for? What percent of responses choose dislike of the extreme dark chocolate? So what kind of distribution are we asking for? Here's a hint. We are asking for something like this. What kind of distribution is that? I'm not going to give away the answer out. That's basically... So what kind of distribution is that, Sarah? So we're only looking at one level of a certain variable. We're isolating it. I wouldn't be marginal. Remember, where's the marginal distributions? Don't worry. Good try right there. The marginal distributions are always going to be over here or over here. Where's the marginal distributions? So the hint for remembering the marginal. So marginal distributions are where? Anytime you hear a marginal distribution, the marginal distributions are always located where? A marginal distribution is always located in the what? Oh, no worries, Alexander. It's just practice. In the margins. A conditional distribution sets a what? Like, this is the way to memorize it. A conditional distribution sets a what when you ask a question. Like, when you say this of this, it's going to set a condition. Like, I always like to phrase them given, which they're not always phrased that way, and we should know how they can be phrased otherwise. But we could say, for only the people who chose extreme dark chocolate, what percent of them disliked what they chose? So, what percent choose dislike of the extreme dark chocolate? Imagine this. I could say, what percent of people are from Tennessee of the freshmen? Like, when I say of freshmen, I'm talking about only freshmen right there. What percent of students got an A of the students who attended the review session? Does that make sense? If I say of the students who attended the review session, I'm doing a conditional distribution. I'm saying for students who attended the review session, what percent, like given students attended the review session, what percent got an A? And that'd be a conditional distribution. Is this making sense, Sarah? Does that help out? I think I have class at 3:10. When do I have class? Oh my gosh, I got class in 13 minutes. Okay, awesome. I thought it would say given students. Yeah, so it can say given. That's another way of phrasing it. It can say given, and it doesn't have to. The big thing is knowing the different ways it can be worded. We'll play, just type it more music. Does that make sense, Sarah? But this should be a huge hint for the answer. And with that huge hint, I'm going to head off. I'll be teaching a class here in 12 minutes. If you're stuck, email me, let me know. Bye for now, everyone. Bye! I can talk through the outros. Awesome. Great job, Sarah. No, Sarah. Let me know. Great job, everyone.